Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time once again for your weekly wrap-up, and we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today, including all of these topics that you see on screen here. So without further ado, let's get to it. And before we begin, I want to thank our newest supporters here on the channel. On the YouTube membership program, we had Ken Roller, Joey Mack, Lorenzo Sewell, and David Kelly join. We also got some bats from Justin Safon, and if you don't know what BAT is, it's a cryptocurrency that the Brave browser uses, and Justin accumulated a bunch of bats from his browsing activity and decided to send a bunch to me. If you have also sent me bats, let me know, because I don't know who sends me stuff because of the privacy functions of Brave. So if you want to be included on the weekly wrap-up and in the credits when we roll them over every month or so, do let me know and I'll include you in those thank yous. We also have some super chatters from all of the live streams I've done in the last week. David Yablonsky, David Parker, Doug Haitian, Hukuru-san, Schwing, Eric's Variety Channel, that's also his YouTube channel that you can check out, and Vinny T. I want to thank you all for contributing via Super Chat, and all of you who have been contributing through Patreon, through the Donor Box program, through YouTube memberships, and everyone else who watches on a regular basis too, because all of those things together equal channel growth. So let's take a look now at the week in review. On the Extras channel, we unboxed the Blackmagic ATEM Mini. This is a very low-cost production video switcher. $295 is all it costs, and it has the feature set that a $2,500 Blackmagic product had just a few years ago, just to give you an idea as to how quickly the cost of video production equipment is dropping in price. We're going to have a full review of this a little later this week. This one is pretty much next on the docket. I was playing around with it all weekend, so I'm really eager to share that one with you. We also unboxed a mini PC from Shuttle. This is a fanless Intel U-Series device, and we'll have a full review of this one coming up probably next week or so. On the live stream feeds, we did a bunch this week. We unboxed my new gaming laptop that I paid for with my own funds, incidentally. This is a Lenovo Y740, and it's got a GTX 2080 Max-Q inside. And if you were watching that stream and noting how I was a little disappointed with the performance out of the 2080, I was able to squeeze a little bit more out of it. So we'll be having that updated in the full review coming up shortly, so stay tuned for that. We also looked at the EverDrive N8 Pro. I shot a video while I was streaming out live, and you can kind of see what my production workflow is like when we have a more complicated device to review. We also unboxed a Lenovo C940 that was sent to us in on loan, and we shot my review of the Echo Studio. And then on the main channel, we've got those condensed reviews for you to watch of both the Echo Studio and the EverDrive N8. And I did an update on the low-cost iPads I bought for my kids 6 months ago. As you know, iPads have pretty much come down to a $249 entry price. That low price comes and goes, but it keeps coming back enough that I think if you wait a little bit, you'll see the iPad hit that price point. And that, of course, is for the 10.2-inch iPad now. I had bought the 9.7s, but nonetheless, you can get a feel for how things are working 6 months later, and all of this stuff is listed down below in the master playlist. And now it's time for a news item that caught my eye, and this one involved Ring cameras and how people have been hacking into them. Now, if you recall, last week we were talking about Disney Plus and how people's bad password hygiene resulted in those accounts getting compromised or at least watched by others. And the same thing is happening with these Ring cameras. People have been buying up email and password combinations and just testing them in bulk to see which Ring accounts they can log into. And sure enough, every once in a while, somebody's using the same password and email combination on a bunch of sites, including their Ring cameras, and people are logging into the cameras and scaring the crap out of people's kids and family members. It's pretty concerning that people can do this, but nonetheless, it is very easily resolved. First of all, by using a different password on every site that you connect with. And a password manager like LastPass, which is what I use, is a great way to manage all of those passwords. And another thing you should all be doing if you have a Ring device is turning on two-factor authentication. They do offer it, but of course you have to turn it on. Users are not forced to use it, but it might make sense for Ring and other providers of security systems like this to begin requiring customers to use two-factor, because this would have easily stopped these people from logging into these cameras and violating the privacy of these people. What I'm really fearful of is how many of these cameras have people logged into them right now with people not saying anything. And the instances that came up out of this news story, most of these cameras involve people logging into the camera and then talking through its two-way microphone. So if you have a Ring camera, change the password, turn on two-factor authentication, and look at putting good password hygiene to use across all the sites that you use. And Google rolled out Android TV 10 last week. And this is, of course, the new version of Android now in TV format. At the moment, though, it doesn't run on anything that any consumer has in their home, so we'll have to see what manufacturers do to adopt the new version of the operating system rolling forward. I didn't see any features here that will really jump out from a consumer standpoint, but there are some things under the hood, of course, that will make Android run a little bit more efficiently. So we'll see probably in the next couple of months which manufacturers apply the update and to which devices they will be applying it to. So now I want to take a look back at my 2019 predictions to see if any of them actually came true this year. And spoiler alert, most of them were completely wrong. Let's take a look at the first one I made last year, which is about sub-$500 gaming PCs. I do think this will be the year we'll get gaming PCs that perform better than most consoles that should cost around $500 or so. And as you can see there, I was totally off the mark on this one. I really thought that we would see kind of the transition away from traditional game consoles to a more commodity-driven marketplace for gaming, given how many games are now on console and on PC. But it looks like we're going to be looking at proprietary game consoles for the foreseeable future. Microsoft just this week announced the Xbox One Series X, I think is what they're calling it. And this really is a PC, and it will be probably around that $500 price point, but it's not running Windows, and of course it's going to be branded with Microsoft, and there won't be any other compatible consoles out there. Sony, of course, will be releasing their PS5 as well, and there doesn't appear to be anything on the horizon for a low-cost TV-connected device. And this might be partly due to the fact that Windows just doesn't play well on televisions. They don't have a nice lean-back interface that would encourage more people to hook their computers up to their televisions. And it looks like this new Xbox and the new PlayStation will have a pretty fast system on a chip from AMD that will deliver some pretty amazing performance, I think, for a pretty low price point. So this one was completely off the mark and is not going to happen next year either, I don't think. Now, I also wrongly predicted that we would see a grand merger of Xbox and Windows games through the Microsoft Store. We have been seeing some of these Play Anywhere titles that exist on both platforms, and if you bought it on Xbox, you get it on Windows, and then you can have your save games sync up. And I thought they would be more aggressively pursuing developers to support this feature, but it really hasn't materialized beyond the Microsoft published titles. What Microsoft, though, did do this year was really double down on their Game Pass service. They're calling the PC version now Ultimate, which gives you games on the PC and on the Xbox. But I found that there are a lot of titles available on both platforms that are really separate entities. So for example, if you were to download Shenmue 1 and 2 on the Xbox, you can play it on your PC also through Game Pass, but the save games won't sync. So it looks like this grand merger isn't happening here either, and on that one, I am totally incorrect as well. Now, this next item was about the decline of the VR consumer market. Let's hear what I had to say last year about that. VR is something that I think is going to continue its consumer market decline, but I do see growth in commercial applications. We're seeing that with HTC's products. They're really focusing more on commercial uses of their VR technology. Oculus is still trying to focus on consumers. They've got a new higher-powered standalone device that might move the needle a little bit, but I still don't think we're quite there yet on the consumer side. Now, on this one, I'm going to say I am partially correct. There was a CNET article that just got published last week that gives a good overview of the consumer VR marketplace right now, and it's still pretty stagnant when it comes to PC headsets. But what has driven the growth of VR this year was something unexpected, the Oculus Quest. Now, last year we knew the Quest was coming, but nobody thought it would be all that good. It turned out to be a very good headset. It kind of meets the requirements for a minimally viable, decent VR experience for most consumers, and it looks like they're buying. So overall VR spending is so far up 31% this year, and this is not including the holiday quarter. So all of that apparently was being driven by the Quest and an increase in spending on the commercial side, which is what we predicted a little bit earlier. So we'll have to see how the year ends on virtual reality, but it looks like from a consumer standpoint, the Quest is driving the market, and that is probably going to be the story rolling into 2020. And we'll have to see what kind of predictions I come up with as to what successor of the Quest we might see in the near future. It'll happen at some point, and I think that will probably be where we see Facebook devote a good portion of their VR spending, because now they've got something that's starting to sell, and we're starting to see them really doing more with that headset, both with the PC link capability that kind of cannibalizes their other product, the Rift S, which does connect to PCs as well, and of course now they have hand tracking enabled on the Quest that doesn't require any controllers either. Lots of cool developments going on with that product, and they're really pushing it far further than I expected they would. Now, the last thing I predicted was that Apple would release a 12-inch ARM MacBook. Let's hear what I said about that. It'll be running with an iPad processor essentially, but you'll be able to run your Mac applications on it. Apple has been very clear that their MacBooks are computers, their iPads are tablets. This won't be some kind of two-in-one device. I think it'll just be the MacBook we all know, powered by an ARM processor that will likely perform better than the Intel version at specific tasks like photo and video editing. Now, this one I was also totally wrong about, and not only did they not release a new 12-inch ARM-based MacBook, they actually got rid of the 12-inch MacBook completely, which was a total bummer because this is a really good form factor for me. I really like my 12-inch MacBook. It drives this show. I travel with it all the time. I have my original from 2015 that's still going strong. It is a great device, and it was really disappointing to see Apple get rid of it completely. But I am still very optimistic about this prediction, and I still think it's going to happen. If they were to release an ARM device, I have no doubt it'll be in this form factor. Apple likes making things really thin and light, and if they can come up with a laptop that could edit 4K video, for example, with a super efficient ARM-based processor, I know they're going to do it, and it's just a matter of when. So we're going to be rolling over this prediction into my 2020 predictions, and we may end up having to roll this over for a few more years, but I think it's definitely going to happen. And in our Q&A for you this week, I would love to hear your predictions for 2020 as far as what we can expect technology-wise. I think we're going to see a real year of just incrementalism, nothing really new and exciting, but who knows, we might find some really cool stuff at CES this year, which of course we'll be going to in just a couple of weeks. And now it's time for a Q&A from you, the viewers, and our first question comes in from Billy Forrest, who got this in right before I started recording via the Facebook group, so I thought I would share my thoughts with you on all of this. Looks like Linus Tech Tips is launching a new video service called Floatplane, and they've been working on this for a while, and what they were doing initially was just self-hosting their own video just so that they'd have a safe place to put stuff should YouTube ever implode. And now they're looking at bringing on more creators to launch a kind of a beta of something that would be a YouTube alternative perhaps. And many have tried and many have failed. Although I think the approach that they're taking is a lot more realistic. They're looking at this as an experiment to supplement what they're already doing with their content, and as such, I think it will last a long time. The question, though, is what will it mean revenue-wise for the creators that sign up? And I'm not sure. I did sign up myself because I'm always looking for new platforms to put my content on. Right now, we're here on YouTube, we're on Plex web shows, we're on Amazon, and the more the merrier, in my opinion, so I'm happy to really get into any new platform that's out there that has some promise, and I think this one does have promise. Here's the challenge, though, with launching a service to compete with YouTube. It's the scaling problem. So if you look at the top websites in the world, according to Alexa, YouTube is still number 2, and that is number 2 above everything else, including Baidu and Facebook and all of these other very popular websites that are out there. YouTube, for their part, says they have more than 2 billion users on their platform, and it's very hard to get people to move off of YouTube and go to something else. I think top-tier creators might attract people to Floatplane, but if you are looking for stuff to watch and YouTube is your go-to app, you're probably going to stick with the default. Sometimes we call that the tyranny of the default, but nonetheless, this is where people go for independent content right now, and it's very hard to make a living as an independent creator on other platforms that don't have this scale. because the thing that really has made YouTube a place for people to earn a living from is the fact that there are so many users on the YouTube platform. The discovery engine is so good. It introduces new content to people all the time. And out of that many people, there are bound to be a subset of them who are interested in whatever topic you're talking about. And that's why YouTube has become so successful and why so many other platforms have not been able to even come close to competing, because they just can't get that number of people to visit their site to watch. And that's why I like what they're doing with Floatplane. I think they are taking a much more realistic approach to saying, hey, put your stuff here, why not? We can all be here, and if there's enough of a cohesion of content and enough people are coming over to watch Linus, maybe they'll start watching me and others, and that would be great. So I have put in an application to Floatplane. I would love to be on their service like some of the other services that I'm on, and willing to give it a shot and see where it goes. I just think, though, that YouTube will likely remain my primary source of revenue, just given the fact that it is just has such a higher scale that allows my little slice of it to work in a way that I think would be very difficult to replicate on other platforms. Now, this next question from Tej Analysis deals with the future of Plex. I got a lot of you writing in with similar questions about the direction that Plex will be taking rolling forward, given the fact that they are now competing with other free streaming providers by offering movies and TV shows that you can watch for free with ads running next to them. And a lot of folks are concerned, does this mean that it's going to be the end of the personal media server? I don't think so. I think what's happening here is that Plex is in an environment where most consumers are looking at streaming as their preferred media solution. Now, for those of us who have large physical media collections and like the quality of physical media, it's kind of horrible to think about the fact that we might be in an era where we may not see any physical media anymore, or physical media might become increasingly rare and expensive. But the reality is consumers are moving in that direction, and Plex needs to be able to attract new users somehow. And I think the way they can do that is through offering some of these free streaming options to get people familiar with the platform and maybe get them thinking about storing their own personal media. Now, that's my opinion of what they're doing, but we also asked Plex the same question, and of course, in full disclosure, they are a sponsor here on the channel, but are not sponsoring this video. And Plex responded back with the following. They're absolutely committed to investing in, supporting, and continuing to improve the media server, apps, and playback experience for personal media. They also talk about why they're adding some of these new features to the mix. And you, of course, can pause the video and read the rest of the statement to get their full position on this. Also, the other day, they posted up a year-in-review blog post where they looked at all the things they added to the personal media server in the last year as well. So I don't think this is going away by any stretch. I think they'll continue to make investments and improvements into the personal media side of the business. Ultimately, that's where a bulk of their revenue is still coming from Plex Pass subscribers, of course. But I do think this is a necessary thing to have as part of the platform in order to keep the platform healthy and attracting new users. And I think we'll be seeing ourselves get busier trying to help our friends who are discovering Plex put this stuff on their own individual servers. But again, my opinion is that the growth here is in streaming, and you have to have something to meet that consumer demand in order to continue your company's growth and prosperity. And I think that's the direction that Plex is taking here. Now, this next question came out of our Facebook group, and I am masking the name of the person just because the Facebook group is not a public group, and I don't want to out this person publicly unless they're comfortable with it. But the person who posted this Facebook comment was complaining about some issues related to Netflix, and also indicated that they were using somebody else's username and password. Now, that person gave them permission to use it, of course, but it erupted in this debate about whether or not it's legal to share a password with somebody else. And the answer to this question is pretty simple, which is it's whatever the terms of service say is legal. Because ultimately, when you become a subscriber of a streaming service, you are essentially entering into a contract with that service and are agreeing to do certain things, like pay them a monthly fee and perhaps not share your account with others. So what I thought I would do very quickly is go through what some of these services are currently stipulating in their terms of service. So if we look at Netflix, they say that the content viewed through their service is for your personal and non-commercial use only and may not be shared with individuals beyond your household. However, of course, Netflix is kind of looking the other way right now on this, and their CEO has alluded to the fact that he was kind of okay with it, but now there are some comments coming out of Netflix that they're looking at perhaps being a little bit more aggressive about account sharing. Of course, Netflix limits how many simultaneous streams you can have depending on the plan that you're on, so that might automatically limit some account sharing, but nonetheless, they are saying in their terms of service that you are agreeing not to share it with others, and if you do that, you're violating those terms of service, and it's up for Netflix to determine how to enforce that. Amazon Prime Video is very clear. You can share certain benefits with other adults in your household, including all of the following: the free shipping, the Prime Video, the Amazon Photos, etc. So I share my Amazon Prime account with my wife. She has her own Amazon account, but I'm able to share it with her. But again, this is another household-specific thing. Amazon doesn't want you sharing it with people that are outside your house. Are they enforcing this? Probably not, but that's the rules that they put into their terms of service. Now, Hulu says that you are responsible for the use of your account, and if you allow others to access your account or create profiles within your account, you agree to be responsible for ensuring that they comply with the terms of service. So what does that mean? Well, it means that perhaps if somebody were to download and start pirating content from your subscription, that might make you responsible for what they do. So that's the kind of thing that Hulu is putting into their terms of service. They're not really saying you can't do it, but that you're responsible for it if you do. The other thing that they limit, though, on Hulu is 2 screens at a time, which of course makes password sharing difficult unless you pay an extra $10 a month to get unlimited screen streaming. And at that point, you're probably going to find it easier just to tell your friend to get their own account. So that's the Hulu position. HBO Now is a bit more vague on things. They do say you can stream on multiple devices at the same time. And they also say in their terms of service that authorized users should be limited to members of your household only. And it's interesting they used should and not must. So we'll have to see what happens in the future. If you get a little email one day from HBO saying, hey, we're changing the terms of service, I'm betting you that that should is going to become a must at some point. But right now, you should only share it with members of your household, but it looks like you don't have to only share it with them, just should share it with them. So there you go, little legalese for you. Disney Plus has a similar take on this, that you're responsible for your account and making sure that it is secure. You are, though, stipulating that you will not share your account or account information with others. So that would lead me to think that the terms of service here do not allow you to share your password with other people. And they also say you are to promptly notify them of any unauthorized use of your username, password, or other information. But what's interesting is there are a few news articles out there where Disney executives are kind of saying something a little bit different, like, well, you know, if they share it, it's okay. And I think right now Disney's trying to get more subscribers signed in and anchored into their service. And I'm sure at this point they don't want to do anything to turn off people. But I'm sure at some point they might really start enforcing the terms of service as stipulated here. But as this market gets more and more competitive, we will probably see these companies start cracking down on things. And Netflix is rumored to begin that process shortly. Partly because Netflix is a lot more expensive than other services. And as such, people might be looking at pooling some money together and sharing passwords in a group. I'm sure that's happening now with Netflix. A lot of people are sharing their accounts with others, and as the market gets more competitive, Netflix will see this as an area where they can pick up some additional revenue just by cracking down on the password sharing stuff. So keep an eye on Netflix. I think they may be the first shoe to drop in this, and this Fast Company article I found to be a good read on the topic. Now, this last question comes in from One Man Show, who's wondering where my $15,000 Mac Pro is. And the answer is it isn't coming because we're not getting one. Apple does send out review units to a lot of folks, including YouTubers. We are not on their list and probably won't be getting one from them. And then from the standpoint of buying one, I just don't need a Mac Pro to do my work here on the channel. The things that I do don't require really high-end, heavy-duty hardware, so the older Macs that I'm using here are working just fine. So I have a 3-year-old MacBook Pro that is my primary daily driver. That's still functioning just fine, even though I had to get the keyboard replaced and a few other things done to it over the years. My iMac, my 27-inch iMac over there, the 5K, that thing's been working great for the last 4.5 years. No need to upgrade that one. Both my MacBook Pro and my iMac are editing 4K video without any real lag or slowdown. It just works fine. Now, I don't do a lot of fancy compositing. I don't have a lot of high-end production value here, so all of the benefits of such a high-end device would be lost on me, which is why I don't buy super high-end stuff if I don't need it. We also have a Mac Mini that we got earlier in the year. That is a 6-core i7 that Jake uses in his workstation for editing. That's working fine for him there too. And then, of course, we have our really old 2012 MacBook Pro Retina, which Jake uses on the road to edit. And that would be something we might replace if I switch over to 4K a little bit later this year, because it just chokes on 4K video. But everything else seems to work fine with it, so we're going to stick to where we are. The Mac Pro, by the way, if you just buy one like stock, is going to run you about $6,000. So that's pretty pricey there, especially given that you can do much of the same work on a lower cost device. And then if you really go for the gusto, you can configure this thing up to $52,000 and change. And there's really a market for this, because some of the higher end production workflows require some really high end hardware to get that work done efficiently. And I think there's arguments to be made, especially for high-end motion picture production, where this computer might actually be something that has an ROI attached to it, or a return on investment. And I think there will be a market for this super high-powered machine. It just isn't here in this studio. It does remind me, though, of the Mac 2FX. This came out in, I think, 1990. And the intro price on this was $8,900. It was powered by a 40 megahertz 6830 processor, which is really super slow by today's standards. And this thing would be the equivalent of $17,200 in 2019 dollars, just to give you a sense as to what the high end usually costs you, no matter what era you're in. And the 2FX, of course, had super high color counts. I think it was the first to really hit the 16.8 million color palette. It was a real workhorse, but it was something that most of us computer nerds could just dream about owning and never actually own. And I think the Mac Pro is probably going to continue that tradition from Apple. And if you want to buy one today, they actually held on to their value quite well. These are selling for about $600 on eBay in working conditions. So you will certainly have an investment that will last you a long time and still buy you a couple of tanks of gas when you're all done with it. So check out the Mac 2FX if you want to get a piece of history there. Now, our pick of the week this week is one of my favorite sci-fi shows. It's The Expanse. It is probably the best sci-fi show in about a decade or so. Really great show. It was on the Sci-Fi Channel here in the US. Sci-Fi canceled it, and Jeff Bezos famously rescued it from its cancellation and brought it to Amazon Prime Video. Season 4 just came out over the weekend, and it is spectacular. So I can't recommend this show enough. If you haven't watched The Expanse yet, you are in for a treat. You've got 4 seasons to binge on, so get your friend's password and start watching. It is just a great sci-fi show, and I hope you will like it too. So this week on the channel, we've got a bunch of stuff on the docket, including the new ATEM Mini, which is that low-cost $295 video switcher. I'm really eager to show you that one. We've got my new gaming laptop that we'll be taking a deep dive on a little bit later as well. I do hope to get to this Lenovo Smart Display before the holiday shopping season ends, because I know this is something people are looking for, and we'll again compare it to the Google Nest. We're still trying to get some good weather to fly the Mavic Mini in. It has been like snowing and raining since it came in, so I'm hoping that we'll get a day where we don't have a lot of wind and the rain is stopped and the snow is stopped, but it looks like we've got more snow on the way, so this one will probably be pushed off for another week or two, but stay tuned, it'll come soon. And then I'm still looking for a spot to slot in my review of the Tough Nano from CalDigit. It's a portable SSD that I finished reviewing a few weeks ago, but just haven't found a spot to add into the mix just yet. Now, if you want to support the channel, you can. You can go to Lon.TV/support and make a monthly or a one-time contribution to the channel. We also support the YouTube membership program, like a bunch of people this week used, so you can feel free to support the channel that way as well. We also have my ongoing relationship with Plex, where if you sign up for a free Plex account to get those free TV shows and movies, you don't need a credit card to do that, and we get a small commission for that. We also have affiliate links for Plex passes, so you can get one for yourself or gift it to someone else. What a great holiday gift that would be, a lifetime Plex pass. Well, you can sign up on that link there and help me and everyone else out at the same time. We also have other channels you can follow me on, including my Extras channel for unboxings and supplementary content. We have the podcast feed, which is the audio version of this show. We have the Snippets channel for snippets of this show that we re-upload in search-friendly format. We have my live stream archive, which is filling up quite a bit these days because we do a lot of live streaming on Amazon now and simulcast to here. And then we have my Amazon shop at Lon.TV/Amazon shop, where you can find my live streams, at least the most recent one, along with product listing recommendations and everything else. And my videos now are integrated into a lot of the product listings that you'll see on the Amazon platform, so you can find me there as well. Now on the YouTube side, if you want to be notified when I go live, hit that notification bell, because I rarely plan streams. I basically pop on randomly whenever I am ready to go on live, so click that bell and you'll get notified of that. We have other ways you can reach me too, through the email list and the Facebook page. The Facebook group, where we got some questions from this week, is always buzzing with excitement and conversation, so you can join that. We've got almost 800 people there now. And then we have my store, where you can buy previously used items that I have reviewed and I'm looking to get rid of, and you can get alerted every time we add things to the store with the link that you see on screen. I've got a lot of stuff that I added just recently to the store, including 2 Windows laptops with GPUs at I think a pretty good price. So check out the store and let me know. I'm definitely looking to scale back the inventory here a bit. So that is going to do it for this week's weekly wrap-up. We've only got a few more wrap-ups left in the year before we're in a new decade. I do have a lot of content planned to take a look back at the prior decade and also take a look back at retro computing with the Mister. Those will be things that we'll talk about between Christmas and New Year's. So lots to come. Thank you all for your continued support. Keep those questions and comments coming. And until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters, the 4 Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, Rajesh, Logic GR, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.